Why does it seem that the worse a country treats its citizens, the more nationalistic those citizens become? Take Europe for example. Draw a line from Iceland to Turkey. When you go down that line, living conditions get progressively worse while nationalism gets progressively stronger. Is it just a coping mechanism or what's going on? Edit. Thank you for all the replies. The matter is too complicated to give a thoughtful reply to you all, but I read every comment and they help me shape my own thoughts. Thank you. This is actually the same exact tactic used by militaries around the world. The people bond together over shared experiences of suffering, creating community. The suffering becomes a rite of passage, so to speak, in pride by the populace. Yep. It a cool mental trick. So they have to convince themselves that the world is such a bad place that their sacrifices are justified. The beatings will continue until moral improves. I am from Austria, can't confirm it. I would consider myself pretty lucky, we have one of the best healthcare and social security systems. Still a lot of nationalism and racism. I guess we never got over good old Deutsches Reich with Adi. Yes. Can speak for India. Nationalism is a pure diversionary tactic used by politicians to wield control and support. Because they failed to bring forward legislation that brings equitable opportunities to all, but instead are usually doing the opposite by assimilating their power and making their cronies stronger and monopolistic, the condition of the population keeps deteriorating. The best diversion is to switch to demagoguery, make enemies of sections of the population, usually scapegoating minorities. Because when your life is shit and you don't know who to blame, you find someone to pin it on. Can't be us, must be them. Living conditions are often a result of shit government. Nationalism is motivated by a desire for strong, orderly government. The end goal is higher quality of life. Can't have a guy like Hitler or Stalin or any other utopian leader be taken seriously if everyone is doing well. This is the major reason those types of leaders lie about having a scapegoat to blame all the problems on. War is peace. That line would have an uptick where it passes over the UK, although, in the case of Brexit, the nationalism was a tool for getting people to vote for worse treatment. The process is, make your citizens hyper-nationalists. Then start treating them like shit. They're gonna convince themselves that all ass-whooping they get is for greater good of the country. Interesting observation. I have a similar observation, that the poorer and more uneducated you are, the more religious you tend to be. I guess it is due to resource scarcity and lack of power. Then you are more dependent on your social group. Religion is a social glue and it explains the world around you. Nationalism is probably a supplement or a substitute for religion. If the people you govern are unhappy, but you want to stay in power, you better focus that energy into religious devotion or nationalism so you don't get deposed. Can confirm, I'm Chinese. I've been educated on loving my country since grade 1. Edit. Living, greater than loving. I feel like the USA is the epitome of this. Mostly the more vocal part, or what the government wants to show. The majority of the people want to live better. Don't be fooled by the loudest. I can say this with first-hand experience. Here in Brazil we have a proto-fascist government and his stupid followers get more radicalized every bad economy news. But the amount of people is dropping. I don't know for sure, but it could also be the other way around. The more nationalistic the citizens are, the less the country has to do for their citizens. Usually nationalistic people are conservative, thus accepting the status quo or wanting to go back in progress. The country doesn't have to do anything to please them, or do anything at all progressive. But if there's progressive people, who are very rarely nationalistic in any way, they demand a lot from the country, which is obviously good. From Turkey here. Now the government either brags or spews shit on imaginary enemies, creating an us versus them situation, and those ignorant and stupid enough take the cognitive bait. It's a coping mechanism, and the ignorant will do anything to justify it. They can barely pay for necessities and don't know about taking any sick or vacation leave. Most of them I had arguments with were so miserable, yet they failed to see it. Ripped shoes, ripped clothing. Barely any meat or fruit to eat. Barely pay the rent. Overworking with no rest, not even dreams of traveling. And that's only one example. Not really. Finland has an amazing living standards. Yet their people are really nationalistic. Turkey has lower living standard, yet their people are also nationalistic. Bear in mind that 10 years ago Turkey had great living standards and their people were also nationalistic. Americans are the most nationalistic people I know. That's exactly what right-wing politicians are doing in US. They don't actually have plans to improve the lives of Americans, so they stoke fear and blame towards minorities of all stripes. If you can't beat 'em, join them. I am not too familiar with Turkey, but I've lived in other dictatorship. If you are openly not nationalistic, you get locked up in prison, so most people are either naturally nationalistic or keeping quiet.